I'm a reasonable American. I need a truck in my life because, well, you know, I'm a man. However, I understand that the domestics these days, well, they kind of let me down. See, I used to own a Chevrolet, but they're not the most reliable. Neither is Ford or Ram. I need something dependable like a Toyota to get me to my destinations trouble-free. I only have one requirement, is that my truck have a grill as big as my This is Nissan's compact car contribution, the Sentra, in this amazing orange color. And let's try the front seat of this thing. And here's the inside of the Sentra. I really like it. Except for this fake carbon fiber trim. It's so fake looking. I'm not even joking. But you have this nice feeling steering wheel, nice plush leather, pretty thin, easy to grab onto, flat bottom steering wheel because sporty, the SR trim. We have some orange backlighting on all the dials, some brown gauges, pretty simple infotainment, conventional shifter. That seems like a pretty basic, normal car. I like it. Big padded center console with that orange stitching. A lot of room underneath, and it's nicely, there's a lot of resistance to it. It doesn't just slam open like a cheap piece of plastic hinging. Basic speedometer. Seat feels good. There's a decent amount of adjustability. The front of the seat does not adjust though, unfortunately, and as you can see, it's a pretty flat seat, so that's unfortunate. Side bolstering's pretty good. It's pretty standard, it's nothing special. I like the view of the road. Hair test is fine. Let's try the back. Back seat of the Sentra is a different story. Footroom's actually okay. I have about a 1/4 inch of leg room, or else my knees are in the back of the seat, but fortunately it's soft, so it gives, and it does not pass the hair test. There's a big opening in the ceiling here, and then very quickly it cuts out right there, and that's where my hair is brushing. Blind spot is sizable, but not horrible. Seats are okay, you know, decently supportive on the back side, but again, very flat seat cushion. Don't like that. You know, it's an okay car. I just really like the orange styling. I like this black roof. I like these black wheels. It's a very nice looking car. It's eye-catching, but it's simple, and the simplicity translates to the inside. It's okay. This is the Subaru Outback. Once just a wagon version of the Legacy, about a decade ago, they took it and raised it about 3 to 4 inches off the ground and called it an SUV, and it's been an SUV sort of ever since. We have the first generation of the SUV era, and this is the third generation of the SUV era. A very, very popular anti-SUV, mind you. Most people think of it as a raised wagon. Lots of all-wheel drive capability. Looks ready to tackle any sort of mild off-roading challenges you throw at it. Snow, gravel, a little bit of hills, stuff like that. And it's ready for it. Let's see how ready the inside is for me. Inside the Subaru Outback, you have this nice contrasting brown leather trim. This must be a top trim. I think this is the limited. Looks very nice in here. Sort of a rugged steering wheel with a nice soft, semi-soft, squishy leather texture. Lots of accessible buttons. The common theme of cars at this show is piano black trim. I don't know what's up with that, but this is just going to get covered in fingerprints, and it looks very reflective, so in bright sunlight, I don't know how that's going to be. You have a conventional shifter, so that's good. With paddle shifters, I believe this has a CVT, just like ours, and I believe hopefully this has been tuned for a little bit less of the effect. Seats are very nice, very cushy, lots of adjustment to them. Ooh, lots of good thigh support, and the seat cushion is very long, plenty of thigh support. The seat bolsters are pretty moderate. Actually, they keep you in place very well. This is a very comfortable seat, lots of support. I like it very much. Very cushy center console with either the small opening or the large opening. This is very nice. Let's try the back seat. Sitting behind myself in the Outback, shoes are a little bit crushed with the seat all the way down. I have about maybe 3 inches of leg room behind the seat in front of me. Plenty of headroom even with this sunroof. As you can see, the ceiling caves away and there's plenty of headroom for you right there. Small to medium sized C-pillar. As you can see, you can take those group of people and hide them completely, so you just have to use your blind spot monitoring and set your mirrors right, but it's very comfortable back here. The seat cushion is a bit flat, so not a ton of thigh support unlike the front seats. You do have rear air vents unlike our 2010 model, so that's going to be good on hot summer days. Again, with the contrasting brown leather trim. I like this car. This is a very pleasant place to be. Welcome to the soccer mom mobile, the Honda Odyssey. My family has owned some sort of Honda Odyssey for 18 years now, and this one's very impressive in the front. Front seat goes much lower than ours, which is a 2015.
You want to go do that driving thing?
And you have this fancy multicolor touchscreen with a volume knob, although unfortunately for your tuning you still have to do this weird pressing for the tuning, so that's a bit annoying. A lot of piano black finish, although you have conventional climate buttons, push button shifter, and with the shifter comes paddle shifters and a minivan. I don't know what percent of people use the paddle shifters in a Honda Odyssey, but I guarantee you that percent starts with a 0.0000. Very cool, colorful display with your speedometer and your tachometer. Honestly, it reminds me of the Honda CR-Z from years ago with all those fancy colors. You have padded material up here, down here, cubbies galore in the door, just look at that. Cubbies down there, cubbies in the middle, and then a place to grab. The minivan is all about utility. You have all this space down here by the floor, you have these 2 cup holders, you have this place to store stuff here. You have this sliding back sheet, and below there is this huge well that my hand nearly goes all the way to the floor. Behind you, you have 2 captain's chairs with a 3rd row, and then a large storage area behind that. You have rear climate controls up in the roof. It's very similar to the 2015 Odyssey in where the different switches are located. So if you're coming from a previous generation Odyssey, this one will seem pretty familiar to you. The styling outside's been modified for 2021. They made the front end look a little bit more normal. That big chrome bar, they made it similar to the Accord and the CR-V. You have this nice character line that goes along the side of the car. They took that lightning bolt shape from the previous generation. They softened it a little bit around the C-pillar, mirrored it in the line below the windows. Then they also mirrored it in the way that the rear window comes down here. It's a very stylish minivan. I think people need to get over themselves, stop buying SUVs, and just think, do I really need that plastic cladding? Do I really need that all-wheel drive? Do I really need that ground clearance? Because this minivan gets close to 30 miles a gallon on the highway. In our 2015, we've gotten over 30 miles a gallon on a highway. It's very aerodynamic, actually, because it's like this pod shape, this egg shape, and it does everything you want. It's more utility than a sport utility vehicle. Get a minivan, you have the big sliding doors, you can take the 2nd row seats out, you can get roof rails and put kayaks on the roof, or put kayaks or bicycles inside, and it drives fairly nice too for a minivan from what I've heard. Welcome to the inside of the Hyundai Kona Electric. This is your typical Hyundai Kona, but no gasoline engine. This is all electric. You have classic, push buttons and knobs for your climate controls, nice blue backlighting for your infotainment, a large screen, also a large screen for your dash, so that's very futuristic, and blue lighting everywhere, nice calming appearance. You have this large storage cubby with a USB charger down in there. 2 cup holders. You got your heated and cooled seats. You have your push button shifter, which, yeah, good luck remembering that. You know, that seems overly complicated. Nice storage cubby back here. I like the design. You have this nice hexagonal textured plastic, although it is a hard material, not very padded down here. You have your speakers, cool round vents. The seats, very basic, decent amount of lumbar support, okay amount of bolstering. The seat cushion's kind of flat and short. Now, the big shortcoming here is that even with the seat all the way down, it does not pass the hair test. My hair is brushing the roof right up against the edge of the sunroof there, so that is unfortunate. Steering wheel, you know, plain, smooth steering wheel with some paddle shifters back here. I'm guessing that's for regenerative braking, not for shifting. Let's check out the back. Okay, sitting behind myself in the Kona electric, oh gosh. I feel like a contortionist because my feet are wedged underneath the seat. My knees are wedged up against the back of the seat. My head is wedged up against the ceiling here. I essentially am a wedge salad. Wedged 3 ways is what I call it. Other than the moderate discomfort I have back here, you know, they might as well have not even had a seat cushion because my legs are not touching any part of it, just my butt is because of how much my legs are up in the air. Blind spot's not bad, but oh gosh, this is not pleasant. Do not, if you're above 5'10", you're not going to want to be back here for an extended period of time. Hard materials up in here, moderately cushy down here. This is just, you know, might be okay to drive, you have good range, but this is not a road trip car for tall people in the back. We can take a look at the car from the outside. Looks like your typical Hyundai Kona. You have this sort of rugged look. They got rid of the plastic trim around the wheels, which I actually like. It reveals that this car is just a hatchback that then they just raised about 3 inches off the ground so they could call it an SUV, and then it would sell like crazy. Yeah, it looks like a Hyundai Kona, looks like a Hyundai Kona until, what is this? A plug-in socket and no grill, because like I said, this is an all-electric car. Very aggressive, thin headlights. I am inside a Kia Soul. And there are no hamsters. Sad face. JK, I think they got rid of that years ago. Welcome to the inside of the Kia Soul. It's pretty nice in here. You have this sort of cute, rounded, piano black finished infotainment display. It kind of has like a Fiat look to it in that playful manner. You have conventional climate knobs and buttons, although the dials spin forever, so that's not super high quality. You have a conventional shifter with, again, backwards manual mode, some buttons that aren't buttons, manual, parking brake, modestly padded armrest, although it's kind of far back in your driving position, your elbow wants to be further forward than it is. Underneath, a pretty good cubby. Nice commanding view of the road. This is a very boxy vehicle. You have these interesting sort of ripple effect triangles near the door release. Hard plastic towards the top of the door, but padded where it counts. You have the speaker pointing right at you near the vents, conventional gauges. Let's check out the back. In the back of the Kia Soul, and there's plenty of room back here. The floor feels nice and flat. My feet have plenty of room underneath the seat. Shin is slightly brushing the seat, but my knee has about an inch of room until the back of the seat. And due to the boxy styling of this vehicle, the roofline is basically flat all the way across. I have plenty of headroom. Now, unfortunately, just for rollover protection, they needed to put a big C-pillar in this car, so you have to just watch out, because if there was a car back there, you would not be able to see it at all. So be careful about that. You have that ripple style, those triangles on the rear doors as well. It's a relatively cozy place. The seat back is pretty hard. Now the seat cushion itself is very flat, very little thigh support, so that's a little bit disappointing. Let's take a look at the outside of this car, which has essentially stayed the same for years. It's a classic box shape. It's the closest thing you could get to a Scion XB that used to be around, or the Nissan Cube that used to be around. This is pretty much the only offering that is still kind of lowered without that plastic cladding. Chevy Trailblazer kind of looks like this, but that's going for more of an off-roady look. You have this sort of angry appearance. This car does not look content with you. You see this in the rearview mirror, you want to get out of the way. Now, I don't like the styling how the window goes up, although it's cute that they has the word Soul up in the top corner. Nice tall rear taillights. They go around the top part of the trunk, so that's cute. Yeah, I miss the hamsters, but there's the Kia Soul. Welcome to the inside of the Toyota Corolla Cross LE. This is one of the more basic trims, and this car, which essentially they took a Corolla hatchback, raised it 3 inches, put plastic cladding, all-wheel drive, called it an SUV and called it a day and hoped it would sell like crazy. Well, it'll probably sell like crazy. This is very similar to what Mitsubishi did a few years ago by taking the Eclipse name, turning it into an SUV and calling it the Eclipse Cross. Well, this is the Toyota Corolla Cross. This is probably going to be a lot of people's first car, and you know what? It's not bad in here. The seats are nice, they're nicely cushioned, the side bolsters are supportive. Now this LE trim is just cloth seats with manual adjustment, and so it does the job okay. Thigh support is a little lackluster, but the seat cushion length is good. The steering wheel is nicely shaped. It's rather thin. There's a good place for your thumb to grip it at 9:3. Buttons look all intuitive and easy to reach. The material itself is a very kind of very thin, rubbery leather feel. Like it's very hard. It's not a very cushioned steering wheel. The dash design looks nice. A lot of chrome bits. A lot of this piano black finish, which I'm seeing all over this car show. Conventional shifter. You got hard plastic on the top, cushioned armrest where it counts. Let's try the back seat. In the back of the Toyota Corolla Cross, oh boy, you might want to cross your legs if you have any left, because there is just not a lot of room back here. My feet actually have a fair amount of room under the seat, even though the seat's all the way down, but my knees are firmly wedged into the back of the cushion. Fortunately it's cloth, so it gives a little bit, but my shins are hitting the firm bottom edge of the seat. It does pass the hair test, barely, so that's good. Seat cushion is very flat, so there's very little thigh support, unfortunately. Blind spot is also rather thick, so that's something you have to deal with. So it's not a place you want to be for a long time. I've also heard that this car does not have a lot of power, and it has a CVT, which means it's going to be loud, probably. And but this is what it looks like on the outside. It's very cute. It kind of has the Ford Escape feel to it, that they tried to take, a car design, a hatchback design, and just throw a little bit of SUV flair on it. Those big squared off plastic wheel fenders, and called it a day. It looks like a mixture of a Corolla and a RAV4, and that's essentially what it is. So if you're somebody who probably doesn't care about how loud a car is, doesn't need a huge back seat, what you want to say, you drive an SUV, god dang it, but you like the reliability of Toyota, is probably, you're right. So we are inside the Chevy Malibu. This is the car that Chevrolet makes for people who still buy cars, like me. This is actually a relatively nice place to be. You have a lot of adjustment in the seat. You have thigh support. Although still with all the way up, I wish it could be a little bit more aggressive. Side bolsters are moderate, not too insane. It's a rather plain feeling seat, does the job. That's kind of what I get the vibe from this car also, is it's not too special, but does the job. You have this interesting snowflake triangular texture that is in several places on the dash, gives it a little bit of spice. You have some nice stitching across the dash. Pretty plain, basic, smooth leather steering wheel. with some interesting volume buttons on the back of the steering wheel and also on this side. Basic infotainment screen here. I hate to say it Chevrolet, but it feels a little bit rental car in here. Let's try the back seat. Back seat of the Chevrolet Malibu. One thing I really like is the rear seat air vents. That's good. Feet are completely squished underneath the seat, which I put all the way down, so that's not great. I do have plenty of leg room. You have this little scalloped out area on the back of the seat. Gives me about 2 to 3 inches of leg room. Seat, the seat cushion, again, very flat. I wish it came up more, not much thigh support. If I sit up completely, it does not pass the hair test. You can see where this little carved out area sort of stops right in here. That's where my head's brushing the roof. So you either have to eat up all of that leg room with your knees and get your head out of the way, or just kind of find some position that's comfortable enough. And that is comfortable enough. You have pretty hard plastic up here, although it's soft on the back side, so that's interesting. You want to look out the window, you see this little pillar here, so you have to move your head forward a little bit. Oh, Corvette, Camaro, that's nice. But, it's a pretty plain car. Let's see the outside. The outside of this Chevrolet Malibu, it's nice. You have this little Malibu monogram on the car. You have this nice character line that goes down the doors, nice blacked out wheels. Pretty stylish front end with this sort of double grille thing that they've been going for. It's a little bit reminiscent of the Camaro, just slightly, just to give you the idea that you are driving a relative of a Camaro. It's a nicely proportioned car. I like it in this nice white color. It stands out. It's pretty bold. You have a nice chrome outline around the windows. I like the integrated spoiler, sort of under the deck lid. Has a nice shape. Probably not the best car in the category, but it does the job. When you think of the iconic images associated with Ford Motor Company, you probably think about these two cars. The Ford Mustang, been around for 60 years, just an icon of America. And Ford, they wanted to be with the times. They wanted to build an all-electric car, but they wanted it to look cool. And they're like, what do we have that looks cool? The Mustang. But we can't sell things that just look cool. We need to sell things that people want to buy. Well, what do people want to buy these days? SUVs. So let's make a Mustang SUV that is all electric. Wham! The Ford Mustang Mach E. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, they did it. They slammed Mustang styling onto an SUV. I've heard it performs very well, has a lot of range. It is a good-looking vehicle. You have a pretty large blind spot here, but they took sort of the iconic Ford emblems and Ford Mustang design cues and put it on this thing. It does look good. A lot of Mustang purists are upset about this. Personally, though, I think it's kind of cool. And once you make a vehicle all electric, does it really matter what shape it is? It's not going to affect your mileage as much as a gas SUV would be compared to a gas car. It's all electric. So, you gotta do what you gotta do. This is America. We don't buy cars no more. So this is what we did. Let's see how it fits. But first, it has a frunk, as most electric cars do. You don't have an engine bay to house an engine. You can have other things like grocery bags or whatever. Just don't crash, because then your eggs will get cracked. Let's try out the front. We are inside the Ford Mustang Mach-E. It is very interesting in here. You have a screen instead of a speedometer. You have this interesting suede material over the speakers. And you have this very large Tesla-like screen. What's nice about it, large fonts. Should be easy to figure out what you want. You have your climate controls towards the bottom. You have your power button in the middle, and this huge ring, which is your volume knob. You have a shifter down here, and you have this device over here. I think that's your active safety monitoring. You have this huge moonroof that goes the length of the roof. Very cool. Seats, lots of adjustment to them. Moderate bolsters. These feel more like SUV seats instead of sports car seats. Rather plain, flat seat cushion. So be careful around the twisties. But, yep, Very nice, very cool, very attractive looking vehicle. Gotta admit it, Ford. Let's see how it fits in the back. Now Ford, you know, everybody doing electric is trying to compete with Tesla, and Tesla doesn't do normal door handles, so why should Ford? So where do you open the door? It's this little button right here. You push it, the door opens up, you grab the door, and you get in. So now we're in the back of the Ford Mustang Mach-E. Again, this suede material over the speakers. Footroom is a little bit compromised by the seat being all the way down, but I have plenty of leg room, probably about 3 or 4 inches. If I sit all the way back, it does not pass the air test because my head hits this little bump right here, this little ridge. Sit up a little bit, boom, plenty of headroom right in there. So just be conscious of that. It's very nice in here. Plenty of range, very attractive vehicle, especially if you like how Mustangs look. That is the Ford Mustang Mach-E. This is the Kia K5, formerly known as the Optima. This is their mid-size sedan, and it has gone through a complete overhaul. They've basically taken the Optima and injected it with a lot of Kia and Hyundai's modern design language, which is very aggressive, very eye-catching, as well as cues from the Stinger, which is right over here, their sports sedan. You have this cool chrome accent that comes from around the rear windshield up, and then it connects with the side windows. That's kind of cool. Very aggressive black and chrome wheels, a black spoiler, black rear diffuser, cool character lines that come across the front, black tinted roof, black side windows, black outline around this sort of zigzaggy front lights, and this interesting shaped grille that's actually like a bit concave if you look at that. A very aggressively styled car. I like it. Let's see how it fits on the inside. Welcome to the inside of the Kia K5. It's a very pleasant experience in here. You have this sort of textured plastic trim on the doors, semi-soft material up, very plush armrest here and here, very nice. You have a drive mode knob, heated seats, electric parking brake, conventional shifter, although the manual mode is backwards. Everybody gets this wrong. Upshift should be back. Thank you very much. Conventional knobs and buttons for your climate, 2 USB ports, basic infotainment screen, conventional gauges. It's a very pleasant experience. Pretty grippy steering wheel, although it's a bit thin around here. It's pretty flat on the back, so it's hard to grab onto here. They sort of encourage you to be 8 and 4 or 10 and 2. My hair is brushing the roof just a little bit up here, but it's not horrible. If you got one without the sunroof, it would probably be okay. Let's see how it is behind myself. Sitting behind myself in the Kia K5. Fair amount of footroom considering I put the seat all the way down. No rear air vents, but you have 2 USB ports. I have about 4 or 5 inches of legroom, maybe about 4 inches. Nice door design, although it's interesting you have this like grab handle, like plastic grab handle on the door here. That's interesting. If I sit all the way back, it does not pass the hair test. Well, you can see, hard to tell, that the sunroof ends and then they cut out this little portion of the roof for your hair. So at least they tried. If you sit all the way back, it does not work. You have to sit up a little bit, which, you know, most of the time you'll be, and it's fine. So it's pleasant enough. Seat cushion is rather flat. I wish there was more thigh support. Blind spot is pretty good, considering it's a modern car. Large rear window. Sizable trunk. I like the styling. This is the Acura TLX Type S. I've been wanting to review this car for a very long time. It came out with the all-new redesigned TLX a couple of years ago, and then came out with the TLX Type S last year in the summer. V6 engine making 355 horsepower. I love the design of this car. Black spoiler, quad exhaust. I love this character line that goes all the way from the top of the taillight all the way down across the door handles, through the door handles, all the way down to the front of the car. It's just a very aggressively styled car, very eye-catching every time I see one on the road. I just love the look of this thing. And now it's time to see what it's like on the inside. We are inside the TLX Type S. It is very cool looking in here. You have this mouse pad that controls the infotainment system. Jury's still out on that, but I've heard mixed reviews. The most prominent thing in the dash is this dynamic mode switch that you could take from comfort to normal to sport, sport plus, traditional, climate buttons. You have heated and cooled seats, a volume knob, phone charging pad, a large center console with USB ports, nicely padded armrests. You have all this red trim on the inside because it's the Type S. You have this carbon fiber looking trim, red stitching across the dash, very nice feeling steering wheel. It feels a little dry, this like perforated leather. The shape of the steering wheel is great, but it's very thin, it feels a little bit dry. You can feel the plastic underneath a little bit too much for my taste. Flat bottom steering wheel. The seats are very comfortable, a lot of adjustment. The length of the seat cushion is nice. Love the red color on these seats. Side bolsters are nice. Just very cherry red looking car. I just like the look of this car a lot, and I love, you know, you have these paddle shifters on the back of the steering wheel. They feel a little cheap, but they're adequately sized. Let's see how the back is. Now I've heard from multiple sources that Acura compromised the rear seat room in this car for the style, and I can confirm, unfortunately, that is the case. My feet are wedged underneath the seats. If I splay my legs open, I have room on the sides, but if I put it right behind the seat, they are firmly into the back of the seat. The seat itself is cushy and soft, but the seat cushion itself is pretty low, and not much thigh support, but a lot of shoulder support. And it does not pass the hair test. My hair is definitely brushing up against this surface here. Just what happens when you have a tall abdomen. Blind spot's pretty good, pretty manageable, but again, like, this is doable for long rides if you just sort of splay your legs open and sit back. Then my head clears the roof. Again, you have more stitching back here. And it's a nice car. You have this sort of mood lighting that I know can be changed in about 37 different ways. And yeah, it's just tight back here. Sigh.